In this video, we'll be building this professional corporate website from scratch, covering the home, about, service, contact page, and more. This project is designed to give you the actual skills and confidence to build a website for your own brand and for your future clients. All you need is your laptop and your code editor. Everything you need, including the assets and the final source code, is linked in the description below. Let's dive into the lesson. So the first thing we want to do is to go to our web browser, and then we have to download our code editor. We'll be using Visual Studio Code for our project. So all you will do is to type download VS Code. Alright, you can click the first link to go to the Visual Studio website. And then we have different operating systems to select from. We have the Windows, the Linux, and then the Mac operating system. I will choose Windows operating system because that is the operating system currently in my laptop. And then you wait patiently while your download begins. So here we can see our download progress. The download is completed. The next thing you want to do is to go to your download folder. You can click on your file explorer and then move to download. In the download section, you click on Visual Studio Code user setup. This will begin the installation process. Click on I accept the agreement and then next. We have the directory where the installation files will be stored. So all you have to do is click on next. Click on next. Now here you want to add open with code. Whenever you right click on any application or any file that can open with Visual Studio Code. And this is for any file that can open with Visual Studio Code when you right click on it. Why this one is any folder you want to open with Visual Studio Code. So you want that option of Visual Studio to appear whenever you right click on either those files or folders. So you click on next and then install. You wait a little while your installation is being prepared. Our VS Code is installed and we are asked to launch it. While this is checked, when you click on finished, it means you want to launch your Visual Studio Code immediately. But I don't want to launch it immediately, so I'll uncheck this and click on finish. I want to locate where the Visual Studio Code icon is on my desktop, because currently if you click on this again, it simply means you want to install your application again. So you don't use this to open your application. Instead, you go to your desktop and then we have the Visual Studio Code icon here. Also, you can search for Visual Studio and you have the application here. So when you click on this, you open the actual application you installed. And when you click on this, you also achieve the same thing. So what we want to do is to launch the Visual Studio Code to see how the interface look like. You can expand this by clicking here. And here we have our Visual Studio Code installed. Now, apart from installing Visual Studio Code, if we're working on a project that just comprises of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the only tool we need is Visual Studio Code and web browser. In Visual Studio Code, we write the code, while in the web browser, we test our code. So we already have our web browser installed. For testing my application, I'll be using Chrome browser. So if you don't have Chrome installed, you have to download Chrome. So what we want to do next is create a folder for our application. You should know that every application is packaged into a folder. So when you are creating a file, let's say HTML file, it should be inside your project folder. If you are creating a CSS file, it should be inside your project folder. Same with a JavaScript file. So to do that, we'll go to our file explorer, and then I like to create my project folder in the document folder. Yeah, this is called a document folder for a reason. In it, you can create documents with any application, and you would like to store it in the document folder. Just like this describe download, whenever you download an application, the download files is usually stored in the download folder. So in the document folder, I will create a folder. I'll name this folder the name of my application. So what we want to build is a corporate website, and I decided to build an aviation website. So aviation website is a website that deals on traveling and booking of flights. I'll name this folder Blue Wave Air. This will be the folder in which all the files and other folders will be created will be stored. Now once you have this folder created, what you want to do is to go to your VS Code, and then you have to bring in that folder into your code editor. We are opening a folder, and the folder is called the Blue Wave Air folder. So when I click on it, so what I'll do is to select it and then click on select folder. So we have our project folder open in VS Code. If you are asked this question, do you trust the author of this file? You can check it and click yes, I trust the author. Now we are in the Blue Wave Air folder. The first thing we should do is to create our index file. So I'll click on this icon and then I'll write index.html. So in this file, we'll be creating the structure of our home page. Whenever you want to create a home page, though the name does not matter, but it's good you start with index.html, because when you eventually deploy your website, wherever you deploy it, when your website name is being called upon, which is the domain name, the first file which you want to load is your index file. Okay, so to search for your index.html file, if you are using other programming language like PHP, you also want to search for your index.php file. So in this index.html, we want to call up the default structure of the web page. So by just typing HTML and selecting HTML5. And once you select HTML5, you can actually type in here. So let's just say H1 and then welcome to HTML. So let's just leave it like this. If you want to test this on the web browser, all you have to do is save this file. If you look at this icon, you will see you have one unsaved file. So you want to save this file with Ctrl X, or if I should make another changes and say and CSS, I want this file to be saving automatically. To achieve this, I can also click on file and then go to autosave. So autosave will make, whenever I make changes to my file, it's going to save automatically. So you can see we don't have one unsaved file anymore. It means that this file now save automatically. To test this, I can go to my file explorer. I will open this and then click on index.html. I will open it with Chrome browser. Like I said, I'm going to be testing my changes with the Chrome browser, and here we have welcome to HTML. Okay, so back to our code. Something else I want to do is to change the theme of my VS Code. I won't be using this chart for now because we're actually trying to learn the fundamental of HTML and build a web page. Not really a web page because it comprises of 4 pages. We want to change the theme of our application to look beautiful and better. Also change the file icons. To achieve that, click on this gear icon and theme, then color theme. So color theme is to change the theme. We can choose any of these colors. But what I really want, I actually want a dark theme, and then I want the tag color to be different from the attribute color and also be different from the value color, which this actually achieve it, but I don't think this will be clear for my recording. I can go to my extension, make sure you are connected to the internet, then I can search for color theme. Whenever I'm looking for a theme, one thing I do check is the number of downloads. The number of downloads actually tells me how people like that particular theme. Okay, so we have this GitHub theme and it's having 18.2 million downloads. What this means is that 18.2 million people have downloaded this theme to see how it works. So I'll just click on install. What I need is a dark theme, so I can select from any of these. And we have the light theme also. I will choose the GitHub dark. This tab is where we can select the theme we want to apply. You can click here to change it if you don't want that particular theme. After choosing a theme, go to the index file and click on it. Alright, so we have the tag which is green, and then the attribute is purple, and then the value is blue. I think this is okay. So the next thing we want to work on is the icon. I also want to change my file icon. So we'll go to file icon theme. You can choose anyone from here. We only have two here, the minimal and the setting. I tried to download one initially. Yeah, this is it. This is VS Code file icon being applied. If you want to see how I actually got that icon, you can come here and type file icon. Let me go for VS Code icon. Okay, this is it. So I'll just click on install. Currently it's installed, so I have the uninstall button. So if you've not installed it, you can install this icon as well. That is it. We can close this extension tab, and then we have our file tab. We can also close this tab as well. So the next thing we want to do is to create the folder where we'll be creating our various files, because we're working with the HTML file, the CSS file, and the JavaScript file. Okay, so here I'll just create a folder. I'll call it CSS. In this CSS folder, I'll keep my CSS files, and then I'll create another folder. I'll call it JS. Oops, the JS file actually created inside of the CSS. So I will just delete this particular one. Yes. So when you want to create a folder that shouldn't be inside the previous folder, you have to click outside of the environment where you want to create that folder. So we want to create it inside of the blue wave air folder. So when I click outside of it, I can then click the plus icon to add a new folder, and I'll call it JS. So we have the HTML file, the CSS folder, and the JS folder. Okay, what we want to do next is to create a CSS file in the CSS folder. can call this folder index.css. Why? Just because I want it to have the same name with my index file. So if I'm to create an about.html file, I would want to call my CSS file about.css. So what I'll do here is to just name it index.css. So it matches the parent file name. And then when it's time to create the JavaScript file, we're going to also create the file. For now, we just need the HTML and the CSS file. And also note that when you create a file, automatically the file environment just opens. So you can start writing your code. So you can interswitch between these tabs, okay? So the next thing we want to go through is see how these particular files work. If you watch, it started with a doc type HTML, and then we have this HTML tag that wraps every other tags. Okay, so the HTML wraps the head area and also the body area. So what does this mean? Doc type HTML. It tells the browser that this is an HTML5 web page. So what this means is that the browser needs to read and display the web page using the HTML rules. So that's what this actually tells the browser to do. The next is HTML with a lang attribute having a value English. What this tells the browser is that the content of the web page should be displayed in English or is in English. Then we have the head area. The head area actually describes our web page, and in the head area we have the meta tags, the title tags, we have link to external files, links to files that are local, which means files that are in our computer system, and also files that are on the web. For example, we have this index.css file. If we should write code in this file that maybe should change the appearance of any element in this HTML, if we don't link this CSS file into this particular index.html file, whatever rules being applied in this CSS file won't have an effect in the HTML file. So that's the importance of linking a file into our parent file. So in this head section is where we'll put information that describe the web page. While in the body section, this is where we'll put contents that are visible to the user. For example, displaying of text, displaying of image, displaying of links. That's why when I added this h1 tag and we went to our web browser, we're able to see welcome to HTML. Now in the head section, we don't normally see the contents because, like I said, they describe the web page, right? But there's one particular tag that actually is very important, which is the title of the page. So this is the title of our web page. If we want, we can change this title to HTML class, and since our code now save automatically, once we go to our web browser and we refresh, we can see HTML class, right? So this is the title being displayed here. So next we have the meta tags, and what this meta tags does is to give more information about our web page. The first one is having an attribute with char set of UTF-8. What this tells our web browser is to display our characters using the standard encoding system known as UTF-8. What this means is that if we should use this character known as $, or we use the character percentage, it means that the way this character is being written here should be the way it should display on the web browser. The next line, which is a meta tag, having an attribute of name with a value of viewport. What this line actually does is to set our screen size. Content width is equal to device width. It means that our web page should take the width size of our device. So this particular web page which we are trying to build should take the width size of any device the web page is going to display on. So we're using a desktop device to view this web page. The web page should take the width or the screen size of that particular desktop. Same with mobile. And this initial scale of 1.0 simply set the zoom level to normal. Okay, so we are not zooming out and we are not zooming in. So for example, if you are using a touchscreen device, you will see that it's going to be normal. You then use your finger to zoom a particular area you want to view. There are other meta tags we want to add, which will also help us describe our web page for search engine optimization. So we'll add a meta tag. So this meta tag tells the web browser that this is the description of our web page. And in the content, we need to write the text that describe the page. So what we're going to write here is I just say blue. So and that's it. We've described our web page. So when someone search for Blue Wave Air on Google search, this description appears below our title. The next meta tag we want to add is for keyword. And then the attributes is a name and then the value is keywords. Now what will be the content? The contents you want to use here are keywords that are usually used to search for things related to what you actually do. Okay, so you can use AI or Google to get those keywords. For certain keywords that are related to an aviation website, you can just say aviation, you can say airline, yeah, we can keep the keyword to be limited to these four keywords. The next meta tag we want to define is that of the author. The author is the creator of the web page or the website. If you're the one who created the website, you can put in your name. Then we have the title element. This title element is what allows us to display the title of our web page. And in the title, we are going to provide Blue Wave Air. Now we have all this in place. The next element we want to bring in is the link element. So the link tag helps us link external files into our current file. And we use that to link our icon into this web page. You know, when you visit a website on Google, you find out that their icon is displayed close to their title, right? So that icon is usually linked also in the head area of the web page. So we're going to use the link tag this time around. Okay, and then we have the rel attribute, which tells the web page that this file is a page icon. We also have this href attributes, which we'll use to link the actual image. So the href will be used to show the path to the image file being used. And lastly, we have the type attributes. What this type attribute does is to tell the browser that this file is an image icon. In order to provide the path to this image, we need to bring our icon into our working environment. So for this, we're going to create a folder called an img folder. And remember I told you you need to place your cursor outside the main project so that you will not be creating your folder or your file inside a different folder. To achieve that, you click outside the main project and then you click on new folder, and we'll call this folder img. In this img folder, we'll be keeping the files we are supposed to use in our web page. Okay, now we need to go get this particular image file. Now we will go to our demo project, which is in the document folder. So in the document folder, we have this project sample, and we have the main folder which contain the demo project. Now we have to go to the image folder and select this icon. I'll copy this icon, then go back to the blue wave air, and in image, I'll just paste the icon in it. So we have our icon in our main project now. When you go to the coding editor and you click on the image folder, you can see our icon there. What we want to do now is to add our file path to this link element. So this is our file. First of all, we need to trace. We have this index.html on its own, which is not in a folder. Then we have other folders like CSS, image, and JS, all in the main folder called Blue Wave Air. Now, this index.html is in the same level with these three files. So what we'll have to do now is when we click on this place to provide the value, since they are on the same level, what it simply means is that we can actually go straight to img. So once you type img, you can see that it's telling you, okay, you are entering the img folder, which you can select, and then it tells you, okay, this is the file in the img folder, which is what we want. Whatever file in the img folder is going to display here. If you have more than one file, you're going to see all the file suggestion here. So we'll just choose this blue wave air icon, and that is it. When we go to our web browser and refresh, you can see our icon is being displayed, and then our title is also being displayed. Okay, back to our code. The next file we will want to link into this HTML is our CSS file. How do we link the CSS file? To link a CSS file, we also use the link tag. In the link tag, we also have to use this rel. This time around, we are not using short icon, okay? Now, how do we tell the web page that we're trying to link a CSS file? We provide a value known as style sheet. So what this does is that it tells the web page that this is a CSS style sheet. And then we want to provide the href that will give us the path to this file. So just the same way we provided the path to this image icon, we can also provide the path to this CSS file. And how do we achieve that? We also look at the level, and it is having the same level with the image and then the index file. So once you type in CSS, a suggestion begins, and when you click on CSS, then in the folder we have this file known as index.css, and this is how we have been able to link our CSS file. So we have our CSS file length, the icon length, and then the meta tag that should describe our web page.